Hi, everybody. My name is Vince Edevan. I'm with ARA, and thank you for joining us today on our IT webinar. We're going to be discussing some of the challenges that the industry faces, and we've got some subject matter experts that are going to be joining us from VGM Forbin. So I'm going to bring on Nick Dideriksen with VGM Forbin, as well as Jeremy Heidemann. Some of you may recognize Jeremy. Jeremy spent 14 years, I think, in the auto recycling industry, working in Iowa. And he transitioned over to the IT world, and we've been discussing this topic. And we realize how important this topic is to the industry. So we wanted to put together a little webinar. We're going to go through some basic information about what's happening, the state of the industry, the state of IT within the auto recycling industry. We're going to hear from these two experts, and we're going to hear from you. So at any point during this broadcast, if you have a question or a comment, just type it in. We'll see it, and we'll try to do our best to answer it. So Nick, Jeremy, thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having us, Vince.
Thanks a lot, Vince. Yeah, like Vince said, I was in the industry for 13 years. I'm excited to help the industry with IT. It's it's a challenging topic, and I think there's a lot of things that you just don't know until you start really digging in. So we're excited to be a partner in the industry.
Great. Well, why don't you guys give us a brief introduction of yourselves, what you do at VGM Forbin, and then we'll start with some basic information about kind of the state of the union.
Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, my name is Nick Dideriksen. I am the Vice President of Operations and Business Technology for VGM Forbin. I oversee all of the back-end shop for VGM Forbin, from our web development team to our process leads, our project managers, and our IT services, all the team members that we have, anywhere from level 1 all the way up to level 3.
Yeah, I'm Jeremy Heidemann. Like Vince said, I was in the industry for 13 years at a local salvage yard. Wore many hats there, including IT. And for me, it was always a struggle to keep our network up to speed, and without partnering with another MSP, that gets difficult sometimes. And I'm excited to be on this side of it to help businesses. So.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. So give us a brief, like what is the current state of the union on where things are at the cybersecurity that relates specifically to the auto recycling industry.
Sure. And I think, Vince, it's easy I think we got to kind of look at the overarching state of the union in 2024. A lot of the resources we pull are from the IBM breach report. Just like us, the ARA association is meant to network and to learn and grow. We partner with a cybersecurity company here at VGM. We learn a lot from them. We also learn a lot from, our resources like the IBM breach report. And so there's things that change every year. And so the current state of the business is the increasing cost for ransomware has jumped up. There's specific businesses that tend to get hit more often than others. So, in that report, healthcare is still very high. Financial is still very high. Transportation/automotive is down there middle of the list. But there are a couple of things that happen every year that, large companies can get compromised, small companies can get compromised. And it's basically can you learn and grow as that, and how does that affect maybe affect your business. So a couple of the examples that we have that I brought up is Change Healthcare. This may have affected some people, may have affected family and friends. It's a clearinghouse for on the healthcare side, and again, that doesn't have anything to do with the automotive recycling industry. It does affect your personal life. That it took down many pharmacies, I think over 90% of pharmacies in 2024 for several months. And so another most recent one that happened was on the auto dealership side, was the CDK dealer management system.
Let's talk about that, because I think that's one that our audience is familiar with. I know I'm familiar with it. I came from a whole car auto auction, wholesale auction world. And so a lot of my friends and on Facebook, a lot of my social media contacts were just hamstrung for weeks and weeks. And so talk to us about that.
Yeah, and it's just like anything else, Vince. Any large company that people do work with, we have a lot of really great third party partners that do a great job, and they're just basically what we've had to learn, that nobody is safe during this time. And the same thing, it all trickles down to the small businesses. CDK being compromised, does affect the auto parts industry, because some of these dealership, they don't carry the parts that are needed. They need to go to some of the auto recycling industry, businesses, and they need to be able to source those parts. Or maybe maybe somebody in the auto industry needs to source this part from one of the large dealerships that did use CDK, and it does provide some trickle down effect when a big business like this does get attacked, and how do you prepare for that? And that's the biggest thing from CDK, and good for CDK getting up and running as fast as they can. I mean,
how long did that last?
A couple examples of some of the automotive, the dealerships that we were involved in, roughly 10 to 15 days is when they were down of business days. And so that does affect business. The good thing is that, the dealerships that we know that we work closely with had a really, really great secondary plan in place to be able to still process orders, continually working with these companies. And again, us being the outside person looking in on that, it's just not something that's exciting to go through. And it just shows that it can happen to pretty much anybody.
And so, talk to us about, like, what are the vulnerabilities? Like, could this happen within the auto recycling industry? Actually, we saw a few years ago in 2020 where this type of ransomware struck the auto recycling industry. So, let's talk about that. Like, what are the vulnerabilities within the auto recycling industry for something like this to happen currently?
And yeah, one of our third-party cybersecurity companies we partner with. We just kind of hit them with questions of, hey, where do you see things being attacked? Obviously overseas, we see a lot of Russian-based, just even North Korean-based attacks. They dig their way in somewhere through the United States, so the attacks don't necessarily come from overseas, so it makes it more difficult to stop. And then basically the tools that they're using now at ransomware has many different forms and different companies. These organizations don't all sit in the same building. They tend to sit, and again, a lot of these things we found are because of that. We partner with a really good cybersecurity company. They do actually have separate organizations, like this overarching network that sometimes they don't even know who each other are. They talk to each other. Everybody has different roles. Just like any other business organization, it is very complex. Even though it is a criminal business organization, it is very sophisticated. The tools that they use now, another example is AI is being used. I know that AI is such a buzzword that we've heard over the past year and a half, and AI can allow good things for good to be able to help have machine learning and generative AI to be able to identify things a lot quicker, but it also can machine learn and engineer how to get into things quicker. So a lot of that is, it's still kind of some Terminator level Skynet stuff. So, the future will obviously hold the next few years how, some more clearly defined lines there. But, one of the big things that we've seen in the industry is there's just a staffing shortage of security personnel. So even with, as things grow, it's just, there's more need for those people now than ever. And that's what makes it difficult, is because when that happens, prices go up for end businesses like, auto recyclers. If they want to work with a cybersecurity company, prices are just higher because, the demand is higher.
Yeah. Jeremy, I want to hear from you because of your experience in the auto recycling industry, and tell me how that's helped you, in transitioning in the IT world, and talk to our viewers and people who are online watching right now and who may tune in the future to watch this video. Like, what are some general vulnerabilities that they should be looking out for, and then we can talk about some of the things they need to do to prepare.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so really for any business, not just recyclers, but you walk into a business, and a lot of times, just one simple thing: computers might be fully open, and they might have full admin access to those computers, and anybody could walk into that business and get into that computer. That's just one small thing, and it's not necessarily that they have to walk into the business. It could be, like Nick said, it could be an outside source. And these are all things that we got away with for a long time in the industry, that it's something that we're not going to get away with anymore. And we really got to start thinking about locking down some of our like through multi-factor authentication and passwords, and just being more mindful of security in general, because we don't want our data to get hacked or locked down or ransomware. Every hour that we're down, we're losing money, and it's I always tell people how fast and furious the auto recycling industry is, and it's realistically, it's not unlike a lot of other industries, and for every hour you're down, it's those dollars are going out the window. So it's just important to have that security posture in place.
Okay, so
add to that too, Vince. Sorry to add to that. Just as important to have a good insurance broker and good cyber insurance. That's one that is VGM has an insurance division for healthcare that is specific for healthcare, and we work with them all the time on what best practices do they see in the healthcare industry. Just like Jeremy said, every business is fast paced. So we learn from examples of our regulated industries that we work in heavily, and then we try to it does take longer for non-regulated industries to catch up. And just like us, we have to really have our feet to the fire when it comes to working with our internal network and our networking group that we have. Insurance, business continuity insurance, cyber liability coverage is very important, especially what we've learned in so far in 2024. It's more important. It's not cheap either.
Yeah. So let's talk to us, like, when a company is thinking about their current cybersecurity posture, what are the kind of things that they need to consider?
I think first, it's it's okay to not know. Just even us in the IT world, sometimes we don't know, and we just have to work together. You have to find a good partner. You have to find somebody that can then help point you in the right direction. AI has a great tool, at our fingertips now. You can go to Microsoft Copilot. You can use Google's AI, and X even has an AI built into it. Chat GPT has the ability to scour the internet to provide some base level at least ideas. We really recommend now moving forward with after everything we learned from our cybersecurity partner is layered defense protection is important. How do we reduce the risk? The more layers you have, that you typically are doing better to mitigate your risk. When we say layers, that's anywhere from protecting all of your software, the applications you guys use, working with your third-party vendors, asking them questions that, hey, how are you guys securing your stuff? How can we secure our systems better now to work with, your YMS? So, that's very important. What access controls are we restricting? Making sure that we don't have, a parts delivery driver has access to the financials, has access to that. So limiting exposure, like Jeremy mentioned before, admin credentials on every computer is a really, really, easy way for, the bad guys to, just start taking control of everything else. Hardware, physical network security too, as well. Building controls. If you have a server in your environment, or your company, is it locked down? Who has access to that? There's a lot of things that go involved with that. And then, ultimately, and very important, there's two very big topics we talk about is incident response planning and disaster recovery planning. That's not just for cybersecurity or security in general. That's just, we live in Iowa. We're in the top of Tornado Alley. What happens if our building gets hit by a tornado? how would we work? How does a business operate? So that's part of disaster recovery planning, is to plan for those physical events, and then, the events that can happen through technology or virtually. So the incident response planning, there's some great companies out there that will do incident response planning, and they will tabletop them with you. They will practice. That's something that they specialize in. There's a really new, over the last 3-4 years, that, a virtual chief information security officer, these security officers will work on that tabletop, incident response planning. What happens if and it's better to be on top of it and test ahead than it is to try to be reactive. And then lastly, even most important, is the end user education, phishing simulation, and end user training. So that way, every employee in your business, or every employee in the business you work with, is talking about, hey, don't click on this email because it may contain a bad link, or, reach out if the owner of the company is asking you to change payroll information. If you've got a cell phone, pick up and call. Hey, Bill Smith, did you ask to change my payroll information? I just want to confirm.
Would it be reasonable to say that that's the most common way viruses and intrusions happen, is just by people on the inside allowing them in because they're clicking on something or visiting a website or something like that?
It's typically at least a third of the time that a compromise can happen. According to IBM, they say 46% of breaches involve data. So if someone's like credentials get stolen, you're going to have at least a large exposure to that. It used to be a lot larger. That exposure used to be 60% of the exposure used to be credentials being stolen or social engineered.
Okay.
And multi-factor authentication is really key for that, because
I know a previous company I worked for, they would do these simulated phishing emails, and I never clicked on them, but I knew people who did, and they didn't get in trouble because that they wanted people to be able to talk about it. But I thought it was very interesting the first time I saw it. How hard is it to set something? Do you need a third party? Partner, contractor, or are those fairly easy to set up yourself?
It just depends. I mean, sometimes you just don't even know where to start. So if you Google simulated phishing, you're going to get top search results of maybe 15 to 20 companies, and you're like, I don't even know where to go. So that's where eliminating your time and using a third party company that has a tool already in place. There are some very large phishing simulation companies out there, and end user security usually comes with that. So you get videos that help say, my wife's a big Target shopper. When Target compromised her data, we were on a list for a while on that one. Say, hey, just be on the lookout for this. I think this happened 6-7 years ago. And so now that's those videos are saying, hey, if you are going to a gas pump and you're going to fill up with gas, make sure there's no magnetic pull and we've all seen that. Everybody's in today's world, everybody's seen something like that, where those are what the videos do. They provide relevance to the everyday happenings. Usually the rule of thumb is, if it's too good to be true, it's probably not. So Jeremy sent me an Amazon gift card, and I'm sitting right next to Jeremy, and I'm like, you probably didn't send me that. This is probably too good to be
Jeremy
true.
wouldn't buy you a cup of coffee. He's not sending you an Amazon gift card.
No way.
So what are some best practices that you guys recommend for auto recyclers to improve their security position?
Yep. So some of the best practices is again, if you don't know, ask. Find a vendor or somebody, another yard that has dealt with this before. What are you guys doing? What are best practices? That's the purpose of these associations. VGM, we're part of dozens of associations, and networking is very key. With the conference coming up in Reno, it's a great way to learn and grow from your peers.
And you guys are going to be there.
We will be there. Yep.
Awesome.
You get to see our ugly mugs there. So, a couple of things that we recommend is multi-factor authentication on everything and anything possible. That does stop
So
right
tell us,
around.
break that down. What does that mean? Just
So
for people.
everybody has a smartphone.
Mhm.
You know, you try to go log into Google and it says, "Hey, I need to verify this is you."
Open
I'm gonna
YouTube,
verify
open your
you.
YouTube and
Yep.
see. I get that all the time. Yeah, that's what that
Yep,
is.
that's what
Okay.
multi-factor authentication is. It's something. In short, to break it down, we used to call it two-factor authentication, where you needed two like forms of identity. It's the same thing as voting. They need two forms of identity when you go and vote in the states here. So multi-factor authentication is something you know, something you are, and something that you contain. Whether or not that's like an authenticator device that on your smartphone that says, this is the 6-digit number. This is the number that popped up on my screen. I do approve this. That's what multi-factor authentication is.
Okay. What are there any other best practices? I think I kind of cut you
Yep,
off.
I can go down this list forever.
Yeah.
So another one is we highly recommend business class equipment and business class software. We love our Best Buys. We love our you know
Off the shelf.
EWs, any local office place, but they typically don't sell business class hardware. So you need a firewall. Make sure you buy a business class or an enterprise level firewall. They come in all shapes, sizes for for small to medium sized businesses up to large businesses and enterprise level businesses. So the firewall does add a layer to it. Everything we talk about is a layer. Another one is a domain controller is what that called. It can be in your actual business with a server, or it can be in the cloud with Microsoft 365. Domain controller is just saying, I have my own separate login as Nick Dideriksen. Jeremy Heidemann has his own separate login. And that way, if Jeremy were to access something or try to access something that he shouldn't have, he doesn't have the ability to. A domain controller is just access controls, checks and balances. And it also says who you are. So if something does happen with incident response, you can kind of track that down a little bit easier. If you utilize a VPN, make sure that the VPN is secure and it does have multi-factor authentication with it, or a way for that, that firewall company that provides VPN, do we have everything buttoned down? Another one is specifically for yard management systems is terminal server environment. So terminal server environment, doesn't matter where you're located. If you can log in, if you have the credentials with MFA to log into the terminal server environment, you get a fresh session every time you're there, and the IT company can control what can and can't be done within that environment. A very popular one that you're going to hear more and more often that even we're switching to in VGM is the Azure Virtual Desktop, so AVD. So those are things that yard management systems, you can really improve your efficiency as a business by using something like that. Microsoft 365 is another one. Using, a business class chat in Microsoft, you can control what data gets in and out. So you can control your, if you're using a Gmail account or a Yahoo account and there's a chat feature, you can talk to, Uncle John over there, and you can send, but you're using it as a business and you're sending financial statements, or you're sending a parts order that has a customer that may have customer information, may have credit card information. Microsoft 365 is business class, so it does have the ability to lock down data and who you can share information with. Then the next one is continuous monitoring of all software and updates. And practice your due diligence, check on your third party providers. Hey, what can we be doing better to secure our stuff? So that way we're continuing to stay open as a business.
Very good. So when a company is considering their budget, how much should companies budget for IT?
Yep. And this has changed so much. It used to be anywhere from 3 to 10% about 10 years ago on IT. And now there's a breakdown. So right now, the minimum recommendation that a lot of the peers in our industry say at minimum 10%. Some of the bigger businesses are saying 15 to 20% of your
total budget,
of your total revenue. So it can be a lot of money, and it depends on the industry. And that's something that, it's just a guideline because you may have a large cost of goods that you just don't have the margin to be able to go through. So as a business owner, you obviously want to secure your environment, but you don't want to be out of business either. So we usually say break down your budget and IT into 3 different categories. Break it down into your infrastructure, your hardware that you buy, and then break it down by the software that you buy. That's including your yard management system. That's including it if you have an IT piece of software that does like monitoring, remote monitoring, and management, and then break it down a completely separate bucket for your security.
And so aside from cybersecurity, what are some of the best practices that we can do to keep our current IT infrastructure running smooth?
Yeah. So, I mean, the biggest thing for us, and I'm sure Jeremy has some best practices from his time, is making sure things are up to date. Updates are there for a reason. You have, if you see a Windows update, yeah, it sucks. I got to restart my computer and it's going to take 5 to 7 minutes. But, doing that does help provide, gives Microsoft the ability to protect against known vulnerabilities. There's so many different ways to do software updates. Even you have one on your phone, just do it, because it does. Those companies they are trying to protect, their reputation too as well. So just like Apple, or Android says, hey, you got a phone update, please do it. That's typically a good thing when you have to do an update. The next one is use business class equipment, like we'd mentioned before. It provides you with business class warranties. We are a big Dell provider. So Dell gives us, a minimum 1 to 3 to 5 years of, next day on-site parts. So if you have a computer or a server that goes down and you can work with your IT person, or if you have an IT person on staff and you're using business class equipment that has those warranties, you call, put that ticket in. As soon as that part is available, they will be there to work on that for you. That's a great way to keep your business up and running. And be as efficient as possible by using business class and replacing them in timely manners. So we all love having that computer that's 10 to 12 years old, because it saved your business a ton of money, but it's probably slowing your employee down. So that's another thing that, if you have that and the computer's running fine, then that's fine to keep it running. But that's a big way to create a lot of inefficiencies in your business. Same thing with your networking, your switches, your firewalls, your access points. If people are using Wi-Fi and it's slowing them down, seconds matter over a course of a year. So creating those business class efficiencies is, you can either do that on your own, again, utilize AI, or find a third party that will help you out. I mean, there's a lot of great companies in the United States and Canada. Find one, ask your peers what they're doing. Yeah, and that's the big piece. Again, we're going to hit that over and over, is always network.
Yeah.
It's okay to not know, and it doesn't hurt to ask. I'm a big office person, so I love Michael Scott when he says, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott. So yep.
Classic. I love it.
Yep, sure.
So as we kind of round out this conversation, you mentioned earlier at the top of the conversation about ransomware. What is ransomware? Why do we all need to pay attention to it?
Yep. And ransomware it's pretty nasty stuff. It's been around since the days I used to work as a Geek Squad agent at Best Buy back in my college days. So I got to wear that super uncomfortable tie clip and white shirt. And I probably still have my Geek Squad badge somewhere, but that was the first time I remember seeing it. What it does is it goes back through and it does lock down all your files. And it leaves behind like a ransom note saying, hey, you need to reach out, call this person. It pretty much can shut down your entire business operations. So where things that you can do to work with is, again, work with those third-party providers to, figure out what you can do to recover from a ransomware attack. Incident response planning, tabletopping your business continuity and disaster is a big part of that. Testing things out to make sure things are working on a regular basis. Always review, set goals with your incident response planning. That's really where it's going to be a lifeblood and a savior for the organization keeping business operations running. Just as an example here, what we do at VGM for our corporation is we're we're adjusting that quarterly. We review every year and we adjust quarterly. We set goals that are obtainable. We work with our third party vendors as much as we can to have the best continuity and disaster recovery program that we do.
Well, thanks for that. So we have a question from Amber Kendrick. Are there browser settings you recommend or other easy kind of settings?
Sure. A couple of things that do come with business class software. So if you have business class email, you're using a Microsoft 365 business email or a Google Workspace business email. Having a good email security tool is a good way to start. Email is a very important piece of a lot of our communication and daily work. Browsers, the one thing, we're a big Microsoft shop, so we primarily use Microsoft Edge, but making sure your browsers are up to date and try to keep personal and business separate. So if you're logging in with your Google Chrome on your Gmail, you want to make sure that maybe if you're on Microsoft 365, use your Microsoft 365 business account to utilize that. Those are some easy settings. There's browser extensions you can get in there that will help with like pop-ups. Those are things that you can do just on a base level, making sure your computers are updated. Yeah, don't ignore the updates every single time.
Great.
One of the things I was just thinking about on the browser side too, Nick, is especially on the business side, everybody loves when the browser saves your password or saves your contact information. That's all well and good, but on the business side, we're dealing with so many different customers and you're doing so much information. We don't want that browser to save that information, especially if you start mixing business and personal. That gets pretty messy. So
Yep.
It's super important to keep them separate for sure.
And there's some enterprise level password management tools. Just like anything else, password management tools can be volatile. They can be compromised, but a good rule of thumb is never use the same password twice. And
Gotcha.
if it does get compromised, or you say, hey, you got a message from your target.com account that your password was compromised, change it. You don't have to change it every 30 days. The longer the password, the better. I'm a firm believer in passphrases. So a passphrase may just be a random set of words that is unique to me.
That's what I do. I usually do 2 random words connected by random characters and then a number at the end. So
we always say a random sentence is a great thing. And it's something that you may be able to remember. And the bad thing about AI is it used to be able to kind of test out like, hey, if I was going to use a password, how long would it be? How long would it take for somebody to get in?
Oh yeah.
Those are shortening now with the use of AI. So
Sure.
It does make it more difficult, which in turn is why MFA has become more and more important.
So Amber has another question, and I'm grateful that she's asking questions. Thank you, Amber. How do cyber criminals typically gain access to be able to plant the ransomware, and what are some best ways to prevent it?
Well, Amber, an easy one for that one is any way possible. They will do anything. So it could be they're trying to attack your outside firewall. They're trying to attack somebody through their own personal device that then jumps onto the company network. It could be a phishing email that they had. It could be somebody calls in saying, hey, we're from tech support and we need to remote into your computer now. And then you clicked on the exe or the application. Now you gave them access to it. They can't come from anywhere. The best ways to stop that and mitigate risk. And again, a lot of these come from what our third party cyber insurance carriers tell us. And a lot of this comes from our cybersecurity company that we partner with at VGM that we learn a ton from. They, the changes and things they recommend is a good antivirus, good endpoint detection and response, which is like an antivirus on steroids. It will isolate machines. And the other one that's been really popular now is a managed detection and response. So those are the more security tools that you have. And again, some of these third-party providers can provide this software for you. It is kind of, you get what you pay for a little bit. Some of them are very expensive. So finding that fine line is what we ask that your businesses try to do. There's usually a good, better, best option out there.
Very good. Well, I appreciate it. I had a comment from a LinkedIn person. It says ads on websites you aren't used to going to. Here we go. I'll just put this up here. I guess they were chiming in, just commenting on that question. When you see ads and that you're not used to seeing and clicking on them, things like that, right?
Yep. If you see an ad on a sidebar, usually LinkedIn does vet them out, but every once in a while, like if you go to a website and you're like, hey, I'm not sure what this ad is, but I'm like, this looks like a really cool product. Like, I can't wait for the Jeremy Heidemann Nader 3000. I'm gonna go buy it. So what you typically do is don't click on the link if you can. Open up a brand new tab and just do a little. We call it the Google box. Go to the Google box, figure that out to say, hey, is this a legitimate product? Or is this legitimate before I click on it? A lot of the times there are companies out there like Trend Micro has a secure, safe browsing URL. Email, I think it's Email Veritas is another tool that we use to you can right click that link and you can actually paste that link and they will tell you if it is a legitimate or a malicious, ad.
Yeah, some of the very basic ways of protecting yourself are extremely effective. I know personally, I know a lot of people do this. If I get an email uh, from PayPal or whatever, I never log in through the email.
Yep.
I always
Correct.
go to the website and log in there and see, is this legit? Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. But I just, I have a close friend who's in IT security, and things like keeping a note on your phone with all of your passwords. They say, I've heard, tell me what you think, but I've heard that your mobile phone account is one of the most valuable accounts to get access for bad people to get access to, because once they have access to your mobile phone account, oftentimes they have access to a plethora of other things, correct?
Usually, mobile phones are tough to get access to. Everybody has Face ID now, and
No, I'm not talking about your hardware. I'm talking about
right.
if somebody got into my AT&T account.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Usually time you get access to one account, they've social engineered, you probably use that password elsewhere. So
Exactly.
they're going to try everything. As far as like value, EPHI, electronic patient health information is still the most valuable piece on the black market, according to the IBM report. But personable, identifiable information is still up there. So that's that access to your AT&T account. That's
Right.
access to your bank account. There's credit cards they still hold a lot of value, and anything that they can gain monetary value with will hold value inside of what the bad guys have. And it's not going to stop. It's not going to go anywhere.
No.
So that's what, just be as, you don't have to be tinfoil hat locked in your panic room, but just be diligent on making sure that if you do have like business credit card alerting on, make sure it goes to multiple people that are trusted inside your organization. Have some checks and balances in place of what to do if everybody takes time off, everybody has vacations or holidays. What's your backup plan if that person's not there?
Right.
Those are certain things that you can do as a business that don't cost anything. That just takes a little bit of planning.
Good. Very good. Well, look, guys, I thank you so much for taking time to do this. I appreciate Amber and the other people who've made comments and asked questions. For people who watching this after we finish the live broadcast, and for the people who are watching now, tell them how they can meet you in Reno and come ask you some more questions.
Yeah, we're looking forward to Reno. So we have a session on Friday, October 25th. We'd love to have you show up. It's at 11 o'clock in Reno. And then we also have a booth. So we'd love to have you stop by. We'd love to just kind of go through an audit of what you have now and give you some pointers on maybe some things that you hadn't thought of before. There are some simple things we can go through, and we'd love to do it.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for doing this. and I'm going to pull you guys off the screen, and because I want to do a little promo for something that we got going on next week. But thank you guys very much. You guys have a great day. We'll see you in Reno.
You too. Thanks, Vince.
Thank you guys for watching. I want to let you know that next week we are going to be hosting at the same time. We're going to have we're going to do our virtual facility tour of Everett's. It's part 1 of a 3-part series, and we are starting next Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, and we're going to be doing acquisition and triage. You guys don't want to miss this. It's going to be fantastic. The Everett's operates up in Brockton, Massachusetts, sits on 30-something acres, and he processes over 100 cars a day, 30-some thousand cars a year. This is going to be an amazing 3-part series. Mark your calendars. Tune in next Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern to see part 1 of this. It's about a 25-minute, 30-minute video, and then we're going to have Jonathan Morrow and Tom Andrade on, and we're going to do a live Q&A with those guys, and you can ask questions about that. So again, everybody watching, thank you so much. We appreciate you. And if you have any questions about this topic or any of the topics that we've discussed, please reach out to us. You can do so through all of our social channels, or you can reach me at vince@a-r-a.org. Thanks a lot and have a great day.